Hey, it's Steve. Welcome back to Clear Direct. If you're new here, this is the Backcountry Bogey. It's a Rans S21 outbound that got out of paint about 2 months ago. It's 180 horsepower engine, all Garmin, a little bit overdone for a bush plane. But the mission here is to have a backcountry bush plane to fly in the backcountry of Idaho, Oregon, and recreate and grow the community and join the community that is backcountry flying that I have grown to love on YouTube. I'm sure a lot like you. And so far, I've just been building. I've been kind of a poser. So what we're gonna do in today's video is update you on kind of all the things that I've been doing, putting this together, final assembly, as well as if you're new here, I'll talk about some of the features of this aircraft. So the first feature that is pretty obvious is that, again, it's a one-of-a-kind paint scheme. It was designed on virtual reality between myself and this amazing artist called Mirko Pecorari. And it was painted locally here in Bend. Stephen and Brian Bird of Cascade Customs and Design executed this amazing paint scheme. And the theme is a little bit racing with the checkerboard, a little bit kind of postmodern or Art Deco, a little bit backcountry because we got the mountains. We got, let's see, Bachelor, Tumalo, Broken Top, South Sister, Middle Sister, North Sister of the Central Cascades. The second major feature is the panel. I teased it, so let's quickly take a peek at the all Garmin dual G3X touch screen, G5 backup, GNX 375 in the middle. 2 radios, one is remote, the audio panel is remote as well, and then we've got the mode control panel for the 2-axis autopilot right here. And let me show you, you saw it probably in the intro, but these switches here light up in various colors based upon what they do. I also have a backup battery that initially powers the sensors and one PFD, but I can also, with a flip of a switch, divert to electronic ignition power, because we've got 2 Lightspeed electronic ignition boxes giving power to the Continental XIO 340 injected engine. So 180 horsepower, normally aspirated, fixed pitch, or it's ground adjustable pitch, 82-inch Whirlwind carbon prop, 2 blades obviously. So let's get everybody caught up to speed on what I've been doing. So we had to remount the wings, fishing the wires through. So let's start with the wings. We'll kind of do a walk around. So the Gap 26 is the Pitot tube that also has AOA, and it is also heated. It's unregulated, so flip of a switch, it's full bore heat. And this is an IFR aircraft. It doesn't have VOR or ILS. It just has GPS and WAS with the backup. What else? Okay, we've got the lift strut fairings mounted right here. And then, of course, the gear strut fairings right here. I'm going to talk some upgrades, some carbon fiber upgrades, and I think there might be a carbon fiber upgrade coming for this kind of draggy area where the lift strut connects to the fuselage. Currently, I've only got 21-inch wheels, but that's for flight test and kind of see what it can do speed-wise, and then we'll upgrade to probably 26s, I think is the sweet spot for this little airplane. It's a 2-seat, side-by-side configuration, ton of baggage area, and the 2 reasons why I went with this particular aircraft, 3 reasons, is, and if you haven't seen my video, I'll link it here, comparing the Rans S21 to a bunch of others, but primarily head-to-head versus the Kitfox. And this blows it out of the water with respect to useful load, 800 pounds. I think I'll have just shy of that with this heavy paint job and all the avionics. So the weigh-in will happen here in a couple weeks. But hoping for a empty weight of just over 1,000 pounds, but gross weight's 1,800 pounds. The top end airspeed, 150 miles an hour versus the Kitfox is just over 100, 110, 115. And then it's all aluminum, or it's got a steel cage with some carbon fiber upgrades, but primarily it's aluminum. So you're not having to deal with steel, aluminum, wood, fabric. It went together fairly easy, not as quite as fast as I planned, because my airline called me back to work after COVID a little bit sooner than I was expecting. So this is an aftermarket upgrade. This is a carbon fiber wingtip produced by Aerosport products. And I've got the AVEO LED 3-in-1 wingtip lights. So it's got the green and reds on either side. And then of course you saw the strobes, and it's also got the tail light. So it factors in 3 things. So I didn't need to do any wiring on the tail. We've got Mirko's signature and logo right there on both sides of the boot cowl. It's a little bit dusty, apologies. So I am about to put out a video about how I made a trip lip. So a lot of folks have been having some cooling issues. According to the factory, you just open up this a little bit bigger, which I did, and you should be good to go. But a lot of people still recommend putting a trip lip here. So I just worked with Cascade Customs and Design, the gentleman who painted this, to lay up a trip lip. It just got clear coated today, and I'm going to put out a video on that, as well as another cool upgrade. So if you look closely right in here, there's a little fiberglass ramp. Okay, so what that does is it helps the airflow flow right into the engine without having a negative space in this part of the cowling. So it should have nice smooth airflow into the tops of the cylinders. I don't know if you noticed, I've got painted red cylinders there to match the red on the outside. We've got the outside air temperature probe installed and wired. Everything is good to go there. Let's talk about the landing lights. These are Aero LEDs made in Boise, so I'm a big fan of that. It's super bright, and obviously they only run about just shy of 4 watts each. Now, what's controlling the Wig-Wag is airspeed. Okay, they're automatic. So there's a delay timer set to 10 seconds. I can set it to kind of whatever I want in case you have incandescent or halogen, something that requires a warm-up time before they start wig-wagging. But there's other reasons why I have it delayed. It's only delayed to 10 seconds, and then below whatever I figure out my approach speed is going to be, they're going to be on steady, and then above that, they're going to be wig-wagging. Okay, I wish I had a switch in hindsight, but I'm hoping for upgrades in the vertical power system. So that's another feature of the avionics, is that this has one circuit breaker in the entire system, and that's for backup power to the ignition system. And what is the power distribution system is all solid state circuit breaker. So I can reset a circuit breaker on a touch screen. It has redundancy in that it has 2 touch screens, and there's a whole bunch of redundancies, and they claim to be a lot more reliable than mechanical circuit breakers. So I'm a little bit new school. I realize that's not for everybody, and I respect that. Here's a good look at the wingtip. The factory wingtips end right at about here. So you're actually getting another 18-inch trailing edge span that runs forward. So another couple feet of wing area. The wing area on this airplane is 141 feet stock, so a little bit over that for what I'm running here. And it's got a very wide chord compared to the Kitfox, because the Kitfox wing is designed to, rotate and swing back for trailer ability. This can't do that. So for better or for worse, so it can take advantage of a really wide chord. And another cool trick this wing has up its sleeve is, if you notice something where the rivets are, there are no spars running down the middle of the wing. Okay, this is the leading edge spar. This is a bulletproof, rock solid, D-shaped aluminum spar, extruded aluminum. That's the leading edge spar. The trailing edge spar is all the way on the trailing edge of the wing. So what that does is that opens up the fuel capacity in here to 20 gallons a side, plus about a 7-gallon header tank. So 47 gallons total. You should probably see that somewhere up there. Hope to get the STC for the Gammy unleaded fuel, so we can run unleaded as well as leaded, but it is high compression, so we'll stick with 100 octane all the time. What else? Okay, the wing controls here, the ailerons are nice and balanced. They are not connected to the pull push tubes yet. So I'm gonna run a bunch of footage at the end of this video on a little bit of how I did that, but essentially there is a bunch of lead shot in the leading edge spar of the aileron to balance it. And it took a lot of time to do that, and upgraded the process in the meantime. The flaps are actually hooked up, but they're not rigged yet, because you want to start, the way I understand it, is rigging out here, get this rigged, and then line up the flap with the neutral aileron there. So that will happen soon, especially when my daughter is available to get her little hands in here. These are tiny access holes that will require little hands or homeostats or some sort of tools that I don't have yet. The Skylight, it's still a little bit dirty. Haven't cleaned off it completely. I scratched it a couple places, but what I'm gonna do is carry forward this paint scheme with perforated vinyl to get me sun protection, as well as I'm working with a local company to produce that sticker to carry that paint scheme forward. On the same topic, the bottom half of the door, which is filthy right now, is going to get also a perforated vinyl sticker to carry those stripes through the bottom half of the window. And that's going to be 50-50 vinyl versus holes. So it's going to be very transparent or translucent, I would say. This is going to be 70% vinyl, 30% holes. So smaller holes and produce more sun protection. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, you know, airline pilots and fighter pilot for my whole career, a lot of sun exposure to this portion of my neck. So deal with skin cancer occasionally. So not the bad kind, but I am wary of that flying around in a huge skylight, underneath a huge skylight. So of course we got the GPS antenna and then VHF-1 up there. Moving back, this is kind of my favorite part of the paint scheme right here. Reminds me of Thunderbirds a little bit, but that wasn't the inspiration. So this is obviously a beacon, LED beacon, and really I wasn't going to put in a beacon, but I messed up and put the ELT antenna here for ease of accessibility and maintenance, but realized when the tip went up, it was too close to the VHF antenna tip. I think you need 32 or 36 inches. So I moved the ELT back. This is another upgrade, the BAS Cessna style pull handle, one on each side. So tucks right in, there is a cap for it. Okay, cleared direct, obviously in the N number with the American flag there. This is another upgrade, Aerosport Products carbon fiber tail fairing. So that goes on really nicely. So the stock RANs, well, it's actually an option, but it's through RANs as you can get a tail dragger handle for that pops out. Pretty nice deal. So there's a fairing that covers this area. These are incidence adjusters. So I've got to adjust the incidence and secure that down, as well as there's an airworthiness directive for those builders who don't know. And let me talk about that real quick. You can see a gap right here. I believe this is what the AD is talking about. It's a RANS AD. So if you have a gap right there, you're supposed to fill that gap, well, not that gap, but that amount of gap in the rear with 1/4 inch washers, thick and thin washers. So I've yet to do that. I need to pull the elevator off to access the rear attached bolts to put the washers in. So my game plan is to kind of pull this bolt tight to essentially eliminate that gap and then put in the washers there. You can see the access panels are right here because the attached bolts are in there. The Aileron, or excuse me, the elevator is just like perfectly balanced right now. This is, again, I took my time. I just have a feeling it's just really going to add to the flyability of this airplane to have a really nicely balanced flight control. So I took my time doing that. And I did have the push-pull tube installed, but in hooking up some hardware for the vertical attach as well as the tail wheel cables, it just behooves you to take out that push-pull tube to free up your hands, especially if you've got big hands. So that brings me to this topic. I've got the tail wheel all hooked up. It steers, and as well as I have the rudder all hooked up and tensioned. So if you've got an original kit, you might consider adding in an upgrade. You can't see it, the cowling's on. But there is an upgrade to be able to tension the rudder pedals a lot easier. And the other upgrade in that system is a rudder return cable, so that the rudder cables, the big long cables, aren't the only thing holding the brakes back. So if you jam on the brakes, potential some sponginess there. So there's a rudder return cable that has just a small loop that really stabilizes those brake rudder pedals and brakes. More on the elevator. So the trim tab. I just talked to Randy Schlitter, the founder of RANS and designer of this airplane, to clarify something in the manual. So it's pretty clear that when you're rigging the elevator, this is up, right? Because not only does it point up, but this is the deflection that pulls the plane up, okay? Now, the trim tab works opposite to that, right? Because it flies, so this is kind of trim up condition, but it's actually down. In the text manual, it doesn't really talk about that. It just says up or down. So I had to clarify that the number of degrees you're looking for deflection, up is actually just treat that number like, and it says up. So treat this up, treat that down. Treat it as like it's its own flight control. Up means up means down. Don't overthink it like I did. And hey, does up actually mean down because that's actually trim up? Nope. Treat it as its own flight control. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about that. Okay, here's a good example of what the BAS pull handle looks like when it's all covered up. A couple micro knots gained. I'm not gonna talk too much about the interior right now because it's still being tidied up and finished. I designed and wired the entire system myself, and I'm happy to say that everything works, but it's just a little bit of a mess and it just requires a little bit more tidying. So I'm gonna have oversight on wiring up firewall forward. So if I were to pull off the cowl, you'll see how much work I have left to do. So I still have to install the throttle body, all the exhaust system, and wire the whole engine. So all the wires are up there, but I'm gonna have my friend Garrett, who owns an avionics company, Kitloom Avionics, and I have hired him to essentially guide me on how to make sure that everything is tidy, because once again, firewall forward, I do not want there to be any question that anything is flapping in the breeze and whatnot. So you know what I mean. Oh, let me talk about the last thing here. Two more things. The oil door. This is an upgrade. So the oil door that was supplied with the kit, it was I wanted to beef it up. I'll just leave it at that. And I like my Bonanza. I've got a V-tail Bonanza sitting outside creating room for this right now. They both fit in this hangar. It's been a joy to operate in this hangar. You can hear the fan whirring away on a cold evening like this. But so I've got this Bonanza style. It's not installed permanently right now, but all it takes is just the pin through the hidden piano wire, and it's nice and strong, and I like it. Very serviceable there. And then the last thing I will talk about is interior. Is you got the fan. So I just installed like a 4-inch computer fan for two purpose, defrost as well as to cool the avionics back there. So that blows up, and got the Mighty Eagle represented right there. So nice little Easter egg. Okay. You'll notice some daylight where there shouldn't be. There's a closeout panel right here. I just didn't want to take the time to put it in. As well as there's a wing cuff right here that is just ABS plastic supplied with the kit. And I'm waiting for Aerosport products to produce that in carbon fiber, and then I'll go get it painted that nice red color. So if I fly before that's available, I hope to, I will install that wing cuff with just like silicone so I can cut it off. Okay, I guess to update the followers on the build process and to show folks who haven't seen this how the Skylight interacts with the wing is a few strips, as well as a nylon strip, and then some foam underneath. And then you dip all you can see that these rivets were put on after paint. They weren't painted. I've got some touch-up paint if I care to paint those white. Here is the flap gap seal. It's not installed right now. It's just kind of sitting there with some tape and one screw. But that will get final installed after the flap is rigged with some foam to make sure that it doesn't rub. But yeah, the flaps are kind of temporarily installed, so they actually do work. You can see what it looks like without the gap seal right there. Okay, you guys, stream of consciousness. I hope this was an okay episode. I spend so much time editing all my other videos, and I don't want to spend that time for this. So I kind of wanted to just do a stream of consciousness update video to show all the progress that I've made, because I can't remember the last time I put together a video. I don't even know if it was, I think it was still in paint. So I apologize. But my focus on this channel is going to be to shift from a build channel to more of a backcountry adventure channel. So stick around, subscribe if you haven't yet, and it promises to be a lot of fun. But before we get into the backcountry, it needs to be flight tested. So for those of you who don't know, the EAA was successful in convincing the FAA to relinquish the death grip on 40-hour fly off, and give us an actual flight test program as long as you produce a pilot operating handbook or an aircraft operating handbook. So I'm gonna deep dive into that and put out a lot of videos for flight test. Thanks to Flight Flicks for some very cool mounts. I'll show you one. I won't show you the others quite yet until I get them mounted. Really is the only reason, not to be cheeky, but apologies for the dust here. This tail went on like 2 days ago and I haven't had a chance to clean it. But you can't even see them from afar when the blocks aren't mounted, but I put in some nut plates to mount 2 mounts right here to, guess what, have a pole going forward and obviously not going back because it'll interact with the rudder, but it'll have a 360 cam and have some pretty cool footage from that vantage point. The aft cam, if you follow Bananas on Instagram, he is an awesome individual. Joe, I don't know him personally, but he puts out some great content with a pole, same company, hooks him up with his video equipment, and it hangs on aft of his J3 Cub, and it produces some spectacular content. Okay, I promise that's the update. I'm done. I'm gonna open up the door and get the V-tail Bonanza and tuck these both into their nest. Until next time, it's Steve. You're clear to wreck.